All right. In theory, we are live.
Are we back?
I
Okay,
don't know if we're
chat.
back. It looks like we are because this is a whole new stream here. So
It's
maybe.
weird how everybody's just immediately right back in here,
Well,
but
that's because I didn't change I haven't changed anything on Restream, and that Restream feed takes people to. That's the Rumble. That's actually, hold on. Let me see. Yeah, yeah.
so is there a new YouTube stream?
I don't know. Hold on. Let me see here.
Okay, it says live, says are we back live 801 pulling up on YouTube. Okay, it looks like we're back. All right. Should I send out the text message or no? I wrote a text message. I'm going to go ahead and send it.
Oh yeah, just send it.
Well, I don't really want to
I
get us in
mean,
trouble
this
with the
today's
text
kind of
message
we've
system.
kind of squandered away
This
today.
is
To be
wild.
honest,
This
yeah, this
well,
is
I don't know
crazy.
if I'd say we have squandered it. They have sabotaged it. We have been
Well, yes,
sabotaged.
we've been sabotaged by
All
them.
right. Let's see here. How can we salvage this? What's up, everybody? Glad you're back. We're just putting on the finishing touches here, polishing up the thing to try to get everything back on track. Boy, oh boy, did all you live listeners just miss the most magnificent message
Rant.
that ever. I mean, it was like a seminal message for moving forward into the new age of the media. It explained the whole thing about why we're even talking about
Yeah,
Tim
if you're
Pool.
here
It
live, you
was
need to
an
go.
extremely important message.
Settle down. Just go back. Go
No,
find the RSS feed. Subscribe. Go listen to it. They'll do it. They missed out. It's okay.
I don't
They'll
know
go
if they
back
will.
and
Here,
listen.
I will say this though, very seriously. I mean,
No, I know.
it's
That's why
ironic.
I'm
No, I'm
telling
not
them.
talking to you. I'm talking to them. Very seriously, uh, you need to subscribe to the RSS feed. Okay, I'm not going to
Yeah,
give you the whole thing. You have to. You have to. You have to go to whatever it is: Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You must have access to the show on the RSS feed. This has, this we're working towards a lot of things with canarycry.tube. This hopefully will be solved very soon. But the fact that they cut us out in such a weird way, a way we have never seen before, a way that had effects for both us and the viewers that we have never seen before, it was very, very strange. And the fact that it happened, I swear to you, is maybe the most important rant that I have ever given regarding the very practical steps that are happening in the very near future for securing your mind and your heart against the
yeah.
wiles of the adversary in the
I
coming
was
6
gonna
months.
respond. I was gonna respond and add to that. So people really, if you're listening live and you missed it, you will have to go back to hear the whole full context. I was gonna say that I remember having the conversation with you 2 years ago. It was like 2 years ago when I said,
Yes,
"Hey, should we start moving away from reporting mainstream because we're seeing it. We're seeing the decline. It was before the big decline, but it was already kind of there where the writing was on the wall." And we decided not to because no, there's still a divide here. There's still spinning things up, and people are
still
paying attention to
important.
it at some level. But this last year, these last 6 months, as we went into the elections, completely changed the ball game, and now everybody is playing musical chairs, and there's an element of some people falling off the ladder, other people taking its place, and it's the flywheel, Basil. Everyone
I
just
can't believe it.
mhm.
I can't believe it. And I am taking this, and I believe everybody who's watching live should take this as a sign that it is time to connect to the RSS feed if you haven't done
Yeah.
it yet.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
little bit of personal responsibility for each individual out there to do their due diligence to, stay connected to the shows and communities that you fell in love with or are a part of for years or whatever it may be, because it's time. It's time.
or you
We're
trust
all
or
sort of
whatever. And that you may, I
yeah.
mean, that is exactly the point because this is another example. Again, you might think, oh, I subscribe to these alt guys and they show up on my YouTube feed, and so I'm fighting the power. I'm disconnected from the psyop because I am subscribed. I'm not going to name anybody because I don't want anybody. I don't want to, whatever. You know who I'm
Sure.
talking about. Doesn't matter
Sure.
who it is. But if they're showing up in your algo, if they're if they're being fed to you on your timeline, if they, if they're not actively trying to keep you away from them, it is something to consider. Versus, who do you have to actually try? Who do you have to take responsibility? Who do you have to set up non-platform reminders, non-platform access to the show? These types of things. I think that, it's going to be an extraordinary minority of people. They might agree with the sentiment of what I'm saying, but they're not going to take the action because life is hard. There's so many other things to worry about. And look, you get your alt show, you watch your alt show, you feel like you're getting everything you need to get, and that's that. And the fact that it's being mediated through the system that is allowing you to see what they want you to see and not allowing you to see what they don't want you to see, I think this entire day so far is almost a prophetic event in what we're going to be looking at. So I'm not going to re-rant the rant. So anybody here right now, just go. I don't know if you don't have a device that can catch podcasts, if you don't have Spotify, if you can't have Apple Podcasts, there's so many others. Pick any podcast platform. We're going to be on it. Literally, just pick whatever one works for you. You must do it now. This is the prophetic event. And if you can't do any of that, just real quick, if you can't do any of that, you can always go to canarycrynewstalk.com. canarycrynewstalk.com. We always post the RSS feed there. You can always get it.
Yep. No, I was going to say that this is a very interesting case of what censorship may look like in this new media landscape as well, because the sentiment is that, hey, we've beat some of the censorship, free speech, all that kind of stuff. But clearly I guess there are certain topics or some, I don't know what triggered all this, but it seems to be that there is still a form of censorship, despite the fact that a lot of people are rah over the fact that we won, or
it's
whatever.
More creative. And, people say, hey, why doesn't this big show get censored like you get? Well, I would ask, what's the difference between our show and theirs? Is it that theirs is funded by advertisers? Is it that theirs is getting money from platforms, bringing money into platforms? Are they a part of the spiritual system of advertising? That's a pretty big difference. And that seems to be a pretty big difference in people's ability to stay connected to our show, if they ever get connected to it in the first place. I'm just saying, you do your own thinking and praying about it, folks, but there is a glaring, obvious difference in the quote-unquote alt or independent shows that you are allowed to have access to and the ones that you're not allowed to have access to. And you're smart,
I mean,
it's
the next layer of the onion with the propaganda machine moving into what was or is still parts of independence when it comes to journalism or media. And then anytime the attention comes in, the eye of Sauron, so to speak, comes in with the cash flow, all the different avenues for that, it inevitably becomes, you can't deny it. It's just a way of the world. I think it's always kind of been like this, cyclical, moving into different trends and cultures. It is what it is.
It's the prince of the power of the air.
It just tries on new clothes every few decades or every few centuries. They'll put on something different to amass the attention of the masses or control or whatever it may be. So, and he's allowed to do that, or they are allowed to do that until
they're not.
Until they're not.
So I think Gons, to salvage as much of the show as we possibly can, we will just take this prophetic event as the Tim Pool side of things.
We're not allowed to talk about Tim Pool, apparently. It's too deep. The pool is too deep over here, apparently. We're not allowed. We've just been kicked out.
Speaking of which, just so people know, we are about to talk about Tim Pool and the Daily Wire. Tim Pool has the largest, think about this, the largest concurrent average daily live viewership of all of YouTube. Not conservative
bigger than Mr.
voices.
Beast?
Yes, bigger than any live stream on the platform in the world. Tim Pool has the largest average daily live viewership. So is it? I don't know. And he constantly is now getting put on the front page okay, of YouTube. So is pretty unusual. Good for him. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with his whole thing. He has some rumors flying around him that we were just about to talk about in detail, and we have experienced the catastrophic failure in a way that we have never experienced, and we have experienced some pretty radical catastrophic failures before. So I think we're going to leave this Tim Pool thing alone for now. Maybe
Why do I get the feeling? I get the feeling there is a certain folk who stepped in the way here, cut the line.
I don't know.
I don't have any evidence. I'm just simply, I'm just wondering. It's just
very strange. It was a very strange choice for us in the first place to try to pull apart that whole ball of yarn. We admitted it at the beginning. This is going to be very strange for us, but we think it's extremely important and ties up a lot of things we've been talking about for years. And then the second we get into it, the most mysterious catastrophic failure, talking about the largest live YouTube average daily viewership individual, just talking about why do certain voices why are they allowed to survive and stay on the platforms while others get kicked off? I don't know. It's very strange.
We won the raffle today, Basil. We were chosen.
Everybody loves waffles.
We were chosen.
That's all I'll say. Yeah.
All right.
We won the raffle.
So I think let's jump to Shillzilla. We'll do the MIT study. We'll check our time after that.
Okay. All right.
Here's just a fun clip. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can I please?
Shill. A shill for sure.
Lots of meatballs. Delicious.
If you're new to the show, we've been tracking this fella named Chris Cillizza for a few years now. He was originally, I believe, the Washington Post, did some stuff there, and then he was at CNN, but as sort of the internet guy. So he was incubating for a few years in the traditional mainstream media, but he quickly transitioned out. He was released. Was that the words they use? Maybe let go.
He was fired.
As part of the okay. I was trying to be nice, but all right. And he found himself independent for about a year before he latched onto a think tank that seems to be a part of resurrecting careers or maintaining careers. Now he's being featured on, I think, not Daily Wire. Maybe he was on Daily Wire too. News Nation, yes. He's being quoted or even interviewed on News Nation about certain topics. He's sort of the token Democrat for the right in terms of their outlets.
Yes. The quintessential poster child of mainstream reporter, total tool of the establishment, going independent and finding a way through. And by finding a way through, we have now seen that he has been the leader for others who experience the same thing, for these establishment
types. He's a pioneer, Basil. He's a pioneer for the last group of folks to realize what's going on. So
we always believed in him. We
knew he was good, the Pied Piper for the industry. Yes,
we've been supporting him for many years. Thanklessly, he still ignores us, even though we're like his biggest fans.
I know, we give him so much attention.
But just as an example of other individuals who have followed his example, Don Lemon.
Don Lemon, that's right.
Van Jones. These are the types. I mean, Van Jones is not yet fired, but it's only a matter of time.
I think this kind of gives it away. So Van Jones, if you're unfamiliar, he got famous. Well, he was already a reporter, an anchor, or whatever, for CNN on the panel and stuff like that, talking politics and world issues. He really hit the map in 2016 when he said nothing burger. He's the one that said that the whole Trump-Russia thing was a nothing, the collusion thing was a nothing burger. Right. And so, of course, everybody picked up on that phrase. You remember how viral that phrase went, nothing burger? So that's him. And, of course, he's always had these sort of quasi-hot takes on everything. But here he is.
He's the most offensive. I would say, first of all, is Chris Shillzilla was, for a long time, the most offensive, sort of ludicrous example of establishment Democrats will just say literally any wild thing that comes to their mind, and it will be gobbled up as like fact. Like it's madness. I mean, that's why we started following Chris, is because he was saying the absolutely most unhinged things with no sourcing, no evidence, no nothing. Van Jones, I think, is a close second to Chris, and of course still has his job. So
So here he is talking to Chris Cillizza about the situation at hand.
I believe in this stuff. I'm a romantic idealist. And when you're wrong, Chris, when you make a mistake, when you hand the country over to who you said was a fascist, you can't then say, yeah, well, a good time was had by all.
But it was a tough race to win.
No, you can't do that. Here's reality. That was a winnable race. It was a winnable race. How do I know? We were winning coming out of the convention.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the economy got worse after the convention. The economy got better after the convention. It wasn't like abortion access got better after the convention. It got worse or stayed the same. Nothing changed except coming out of that convention, we, first of all, didn't understand the electorate that we were dealing with. We let RFK get away, and we didn't challenge them on the. We let the crypto folks get away, and we didn't challenge them on the issues. We let the wrestling and those guys go, and we didn't recognize the threat. We thought it was look at Hulk Hogan tearing his shirt off. What about
Yep.
all of that was wrong.
Yep.
And now we get to the real problem. And all this is just a precursor. This is just a precursor. Here's the real problem. We woke up in a body bag on election day and didn't even know it. Why? Because we thought that because CNN, NPR, New York Times, all of the mainstream media was pretty much beating the hell out of Trump, that Trump was getting the hell beat out of him. The mainstream media is actually now, by the numbers, the fringe. And the fringe,
I know it.
by the numbers, is now the mainstream.
I know it.
Well, before we go on here, just to point out that did I hear Van Jones right that he's saying the mainstream is now the fringe and the fringe is the mainstream?
Mm-hmm.
So we called that, but of course, we it's funny how we're just kind of in the middle of
I
this
think
whole
better
thing.
than call it, Gons, because anybody could call it now.
Yeah.
I
of
mean,
course.
the fact that they are just now saying this, is indicative that they are always the last ones.
the last
to admit
people,
the
yeah.
truth.
Let me
They-
finish Van Jones here.
And I just to make the point, calling it right now, I think, is not the most impressive thing. Tracking it from 2 or 3 years ago, step by step, is our sort of victory. in
Right.
this, I think.
Was pretty much beating the hell out of Trump, that Trump was getting the hell beat out of him. The mainstream media is actually now, by the numbers, the fringe. And the fringe,
I know it.
by the numbers, is now the mainstream.
I know it.
Tell me that we're the mainstream when, if I'm sitting next to Anderson Cooper, I'm talking to 1 million people, maybe 1.2 million. Down the road, if on Fox, we're talking to 3 million, maybe 3.2. And there's some Twitch streamer you've never heard of, talking to 14 million people.
Totally agree.
So
Totally agree.
Totally
hold on
agree.
a second now.
His
The
mind is
fringe is
blown.
now the mainstream.
What?
His mind is blown. Like, if you're watching,
Both of them, I know they're perplexed. They're
If
like,
you- if
my brain's
for those who are just listening,
more people watching Twitch streams than mainstream news. Ugh.
they're obviously on a Zoom call. You're watching their faces. They both have their hands up to their chin, like they're really figuring something out. Chris is literally scratching his chin. He's looking very intense. Van Jones also has his finger up to his chin, and when he talks, he's got these really big arms, and he's like, I can't believe it. Nobody else knows this. Look what I figured out. I'm bringing you the secrets of the current media ecosphere. I finally put it together. It is, watching it is significantly, I would say entertaining, and entertaining is not even the right word. It's just revealing to the state of mind of these absolutely clueless, monsters of the establishment.
And the mainstream is now the fringe. We got beat on platforms I've never heard of. Twitch, Kick, Rumble, Roblox. All these platforms sound like symptoms of somebody in the hospital.
Hold
Did
on.
you hear him?
I swear. Hold on. I swear he says Rumble, and then the signal gets a little glitched, but I swear to you he was saying Roblox. If
He
you
did
look,
say Roblox.
he says Roblox. Roblox streamers are taking over the mainstream media.
Yeah, Roblox is not a
Roblox?
stream.
It's a game for
it's a game.
children. This guy thinks that Roblox is the platform that people are stealing his business from.
Did you hear his joke at the end about what they all
Yes,
sound
I
like?
did. It's a funny joke. Play it again.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
I'm talking to 1 million people, maybe 1.2 million. Down the road, if on Fox, we're talking to 3 million, maybe 3.2. and there's some streamer, a Twitch streamer you've never heard of, talking to 14 million people.
Totally agree.
So
Totally agree.
hold on a second now. The fringe is now the mainstream, and the mainstream is now the fringe. We got beat on platforms I've never heard of: Twitch, Kick, Rumble, Roblox. All these platforms sound like symptoms of somebody in the hospital. Okay, Twitch, Kick, Rumble. What is it? And they and don't let me just say this now, because the problem you're going to have now is when Joe Rogan sits down with Donald Trump, 48 million people watch the YouTube
Yes.
of the podcast. The YouTube. We didn't have that many people watch the debate on CNN. So, guys, get out of my face. We had the wrong analysis. We didn't even have the conceptual framework to understand what's happening to us.
That's right. You were playing a different game.
Thank you, Chris. They were playing a different game. Okay, it goes on and on here with the self-bashing. Man, it is a little it's a little nice that they're now realizing the folly of their situation there.
It follows the same pattern of a lot of things. For instance,
Yes.
Wuhan lab, COVID origins. Suddenly COVID origins starts showing up in official congressional documents, and they go, "Look at this! Yeah, very interesting. We knew it all along. We never said anything about this. Look at this."
It was one of the first things we got on a list right away when we were one of the first. At least my Face Like the Sun account.
Oh, for sure, it got Face Like the
published
Sun
those
taken
documents
down.
as soon as they locked it down. I was like, "Hey, Wuhan lab been getting money from NIH to do gain of function research. There, look at the documents."
Yeah,
It was not popular. It did not get a lot of attention, but
the irony of them realizing the truth of what's going on is the same irony of them being the last people to know the truth or admit the truth on literally any other thing. And they're excited about it, and they think they're so smart for it.
It's a new frontier. It's a new age, of course. So if anyone has seen the adoption curve chart, it's a pretty simple chart. It's a big parabola. It's starts off low. It goes a big hump in the middle, and then goes down to the bottom again. And the early people, the really early people, are the innovators. About 2.5% are considered innovators. Then you have your early adopters, a little bit more people, about 13%. And then your early majority, that's 34%. And I would argue that sometime, when would you say the peak was, Basil? Do you think the peak was over the last year?
Of what in
It's
particular?
probably around the last year we had this peak of transition. And
Sorry,
then now
I'm asking what are you talking what?
I'm sorry. I was talking about the in terms of understanding the landscape of media. In a sense.
I think maybe COVID counts as the early majority, the 34%.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. All right, post lockdown, it's been going down ever since.
Yeah, I think
we're in the laggard stage.
I think 2022 to 2024, beginning of 2024, was the late majority, the other 34%. And right now is the laggard stage.
We're in the laggards, and that's why Van Jones is going on Chris Cillizza. Chris Cillizza is a lifeline for Van Jones. He's reaching out to Chris saying, "Hey, I see you. You've been on this journey. Take me with you. Let me just follow your path. I see the ship sinking over here. I need a lifeboat." And Chris's life raft was shining bright for Van Jones, and I think they're gonna make it out of this okay.
Yeah,
it's wild, man. It is absolutely wild.
For those who are listening to the podcast version, or for those who are here live and they went back and they listened to the podcast version and heard my 15-minute rant that didn't make it on the live stream, this is what we're talking about. And this is there's a lot of joy to be had in watching these ridiculous people catch up. There's a lot of joy to be had, satisfaction, especially for us, for doing what we do for so long, and to finally have the sort of world catch up. There's a lot of positive feelings around that, but there's also, this is the most dire time, because the fact that the establishment is admitting this, they can realize it earlier, but they're admitting it now. This is where the big, huge moves come into play. This is where $500 million to $1 billion in the next 6 months is going to be put into these exact people But on the left, they always said they want their own Joe Rogan, they want their own Tim Pool, they want their own blah, blah, blah. They have these conspiracy theories about a right-wing pipeline of funds to give millions of dollars to these online influencers in order to affect the minds of the people. All this, the establishment, I'm not even going to say necessarily the left, but the establishment itself. Right now, we've been counting down to this moment. This is the moment. The establishment will start putting billions of dollars into alternative or independent media people. Specifically, they're going to be on the left. But it's going to look, you can recognize it. You can see it by its fruit. Hassan Piker is a good example. He's kind of a totally unhinged alternative leftist guy. Very popular, gets millions and millions of views and live stream viewers, things like this. You're going to see his face start popping up on billboards. You're going to start seeing his face pop up on ads on Hulu. You're going to see his face. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to start getting quote unquote alternative media personalities that are going to be, the money will come in. They will become instant millionaires. And you will start seeing the quote-unquote alternative independent media people show up on traditional advertising venues, because that is what the establishment has control of. And you're going to start seeing that extremely soon, and that is the establishment flooding in to take over what they perceive as the alternative or independent space. And the point that I'm ultimately trying to make is, if you don't think that there will be an attempt to flood in and influence your favorite big alternative media guy, for instance, a Tucker Carlson. Now, I don't have any reason to believe that Tucker is gonna switch over and start shilling for the establishment again. I just mean people like that, like Tim Pool, like Ben Shapiro, those whose scruples may be different than ours, those whose motivations and priorities might be different from ours. Money being, of course, a big equalizer when it comes to that. You start seeing those advertisements, start seeing them appear, start seeing them used as sources in mainstream media, start seeing the integration of the alternative and independent media people into the establishment, and the money will be there that will grease those wheels. It's going to happen now. 6 months. It's going to be obvious.
To your point, I wasn't going to actually bring this, but I want to rant about it real quick, just to kind of interject, because I think it plays into another sort of shift happening here, sort of the merger of the alt media, the coming of age of the alt media to true mainstreamdom, in a sense, in one way or another. And this is actually a rumor in the trenches, Basil, is that Apple is going to buy Tesla. Yes. You've heard this, okay?
I didn't hear Tesla. Okay, that's interesting.
Oh, what is it going to buy? What was Apple going to
buy? Some of the sort of rumors going around is that Disney,
yes,
as well as Apple, and like the biggest, giant companies, like media companies, but a lot of people don't realize Apple has a huge hand in media as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
They will be the ones. You're thinking, okay, who's going to buy up or infiltrate the space? It's not going to be MSNBC that
those are the pawns now. Those are
it's going to be
the small
Apple.
fish now.
It's going to be
these big guys.
what was the other one you mentioned?
Disney.
Disney is going to throw in like $1 billion into like YouTube streamers and stuff.
They have a money printer over there at Disney too, so they can just keep spending on stuff. So the rumor is that Apple is going to buy Tesla. Now, this isn't a new rumor. There's been stuff speculated about a year ago, well, less than a year ago, February of 2024. Benzinga, Elon Musk wanted to sell Tesla to Apple, but CEO Tim Cook does not recall ever speaking to him, which is interesting. It's not entirely true with the headline there, but whatever it may be. And more recently, this is from a few days ago. This is Motley Fool, so it's an investment site. Apple stock versus Tesla stock. Billionaires are buying one and selling the other ahead of 2025. And the article basically outlines that a lot of big shareholders of Apple are selling Apple and buying Tesla. And I'm wondering if the inside scoop here is that if there is some kind of merger or something that happens with Apple and Tesla, that they're selling Apple stock, but in the end, these folks are going to make it out because they're going with the smaller horse that will eventually rise up because they know they're getting a lift from a big company like Apple. That would be a very interesting merger because Apple has maintained a sort of, I don't know, in the era of tech censorship, Apple has done a decent job of not coming off as the surveillance state. Like I know that they're not, totally innocent. I get it. No tech company is, but in terms of the general public, it seems like that's something that they've been able to do with their brand. So
Well,
if
I
that
mean, the
happens,
fact of
that
the
could be
matter is,
another. Mhm.
Apple was trying to do Apple Car, which was
Mhm.
basically
Yeah,
a
just
Tesla. They were trying to copy Tesla. It
Right.
didn't work out. They shut it down. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
could see Elon floating the idea of selling Tesla to Apple to let Apple take the ball and run.
And this would, on paper, probably bring Elon's goal for publicly, being the first trillionaire much
Yeah, he'll
closer.
be
He's
the
about
first
halfway there
trillionaire.
in public documents. So, this type of move would justify from the public eye to bring his net worth over $1 trillion. So I can see that
Okay.
happening. But anyway,
So-
that's part of the changing landscape of media because X is a big part of this new media landscape. So
Yeah. We're going to take a second here. We're going to thank the rest of our producers for episode 801.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about an MIT study. That's very important. And we'll get you out
Sure.
of here.
All right.
All right. Yes, we've got producers of all kinds coming in with their time, their talent, or their treasure. Thank you to all the executive producers. We had an executive producer come in for today's show, and it's the one and the only, of course, Sir LX Protocol, Baron of the Brian Protocol, coming in.
Ooh,
for
another
episode
one.
33.
Uh-huh.
Where'd you find this?
Bankroll out the bankroll I
Yes, he's on a 355 episode streak, and of course, he's on an 8 episode executive producer streak. Very impressive. Thank you.
There we go.
A pretty short list besides our execs here, starting with producer Sir Marty Kane out of the wrong timeline.
Sir Marty K, thank you.
Comes in for 1111.
1111.
Yeah, and he usually, okay, yeah, he sent in an email here. It's called Gamma Ray. He says, "Hey, fellas and my fellow Canarians, the sound that I put in my sheep video is real music. It is from Euro Truther heavy metal band founded in 1989. It is a track called Induction, which is the intro to the track called Death Throne Tyranny. If you're into 80s, 90s rock metal music, I can really recommend them. Their lyrics are as far as FX, the group Destiny Lab. I am flexing my ultimate marine blue-eyed white privilege and attaching a link to a live version of Induction Dethroned Tyranny from their Skeletons and Majesties tour. Both of you should check it out. So the lyrics are so appropriate for the times right now, and please share the link in the chat. I'm pretty sure the Hungry Panda is going to like it if he doesn't already know the band. Thank you very much for that. We'll check it out. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to check it out beforehand, so we'll make that available to people. Thank you, Sir Marty Kang.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Marty K. Appreciate you.
We also had producer Mason S. come in for 2222.
Mason S., thank you.
Says, Basil and Gons, I found you guys a couple months before the pandemic in a rough time of my life. Listening to you guys has brought me back to a close relationship with the Lord. Keep doing what you're doing. God bless. Thank you so much, Mason.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I
Sounds
love
good.
getting
Thank
that. Love getting those messages. That's great, producer Mason. Thank you very much. Our streakers are still streaking. I've got your streaks here. I've even corrected a streak that got sent in. Thank you very much. We'll be reading your streaks next episode for those who came under the $7.77 amount. So there you go. We only need a few more executive producers. If you're sitting there, sorry, executive demoochers, if you're sitting there, you're thinking, oh, somebody else will do it. Oh, there's a bunch of people out there. They got a few on this. No, we won't. We need you. We need you to do it. If we get about 4 or 5 more executive producer demoochers by Monday, which is, of course, the 111th anniversary of the Federal Reserve Act. Don't want to miss that. Then we'll get a nice Christmas bonus from Sir Jamie, the Sentinel, and Sir Egorius. So thank you very much for that. CanaryCry.support.
Yep. And real quick, do you want me to play this Sir Ike message here
Yes,
for the supply
that's very
drop?
important. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
let's play this real quick.
Hey, Canary family, this is Sir Ike here. I'm getting ready to announce the winner for the first calendar I'm going to be sending out right now for the Rating Review giveaway. I have the number generator pulled up, and the winner is Tim P. Tim P, you are the winner. I will be sending you an
Tim
email here
Tim
shortly to
Pool.
get your shipping information. Congratulations, you have won a calendar. So if anybody else wants to get on this list, I'm going to be doing a few more before the end of the year. So just leave a rating and review, update a rating review, snag a friend's phone and leave a rating review, screenshot that, email that to me at canarycrysupply@gmail.com, and you'll get on the list. Thanks.
Look at that. Tim Pool. Tim Pool. Tim Pool won the calendar.
What in the world is up with this show, man? Things line up so a random
Such a
number
weird
generator
Day. Such a weird day.
pulls the winner Tim P on the day we get shut down for talking about Tim Pool on the random number. That is so strange. There you go, folks. Go.
I
leave
told
a
you we
rating and a
passed the
review.
Rubicon. We're in the
Update
8th century.
Your rating and a review, or steal a friend's phone, leave a rating and a review anywhere you can. Screenshot that, email it to canarycrysupply@gmail.com, and you can win a Canary Cry calendar. Okay, let's get into the last bit here. We had so much.
I'm gonna let you run here and look. Go ahead. Go ahead and
all right.
Do your
Folks,
thing, and then we'll
let's talk about magic, okay? We're talking about the occult significances of advertising, the legal system, the marketing. We talk about the esoteric roots of so many things. I have, for so many years, almost to the degree that it triggers people now, talk about the occult significance, the occult principles, the occult practice that goes into not only marketing and advertising and stuff like that, but also the legal system. I've mentioned on other shows, I don't know if I've mentioned on this one, that basically as far as it goes today, if you're a lawyer is like the closest thing that this world has to like a practical magician, at least sort of an institutionalized one. And people think, oh, that's fun. Some people like hearing about it. Some people just roll their eyes. Well, MIT, this is coming from news.mit.edu. MIT study explains why laws are written in an incomprehensible style. The subheadline, the convoluted legalese used in legal documents conveys a special sense of authority, and even non-lawyers have learned to wield it. Legal documents are notoriously difficult to understand, even for lawyers. This raises the question, why are these documents written in a style that makes them so impenetrable? MIT cognitive scientists, but the fact that it was a cognitive scientist's study as well, mixing in with the cyborgism, the psychoanalysis, the Jungian, Freudian amalgamation of chaos magic in the 20th century. It's just unbelievable. MIT cognitive scientists believe they have uncovered the answer to that question. Just as magic spells use special rhymes and archaic terms to signal their power, the convoluted language of legalese acts to convey a sense of authority, they conclude. In a study appearing this week in the Journal of the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, the researchers found that even non-lawyers use this type of language when asked to write laws. Quote, people seem to understand that there's an implicit rule that this is how laws should sound, and they write them that way, says Edward Gibson, an MIT professor of brain cognitive sciences and the senior author of the study. Eric Martinez, PhD 24, is the lead author of the study. Francis Malika, lecturer at university. You get it. Next subheadline, casting a legal spell. This is MIT cognitive research PhDs talking about legal system and language like, your best buddy Basil on Canary Cry in 2012.
hang all the lawyers, burn him at the stake.
Witches. And, it kind of goes into the thing. They take this first whole paragraph to put about 100 words down about who these people are and what their credentials are. That analysis revealed that legal documents frequently have long definitions inserted into the middle of sentences, a feature known as center embedding. Linguists have previously found that this kind of structure can make text much more difficult to understand. And if you have opened up a recent edition of the 48 Laws of Power, if I have had the I don't know, the wherewithal, the opportunity, and the interest to actually look into grimoires, magical books, just to sort of if you have access to one, if you know what you're looking for, you can find grimoires in a lot of places. There's some very specific things, characteristics that are involved there, and many years ago, I got to take a look just during some research at some of these books. But then less recent or more recently, I opened up the 48 Laws of Power, not because I want to learn the laws of power, but because somebody told me that I would like it when I see exactly how it is laid out. If you're looking for something as close to a modern grimoire, a book of spells, as possible, open up a recent edition of the 48 Laws of Power. You will see not only the 48 Laws of Power, and if you read them, they read almost precisely like a satanic Bible. I mean, they're talking about the most horrible possible strategies to gain power in this world. And this
Lie,
is
cheat, steal, take
basically.
advantage. Yeah.
Kill
It's
your
crazy.
father. Like, if you don't have a father, find a father figure and then betray him. Like, all this kind of crazy, absolute crazy stuff. When you read it, you might as well be reading like a medieval grimoire. But in the recent editions, I don't know if you have the most recent one up on the screen, scroll down a little bit and wait until you see some center printed keep going, like scroll into the actual book there, into the pages. If you see like center printed red shapes, this edition also has notes in the margins, which is a very common thing to find in grimoires. The handwriting of various magicians who have added or attempted these. Oh, right there, you just had one. But you also see text being printed in the middle of a page in a shape.
I see
Sometimes
it,
they're circles. This one's a squiggly one. Sometimes they're triangles. Sometimes they're.
Oh, it's a snake.
That one's a
It's
snake.
written in the shape of a snake, and it's
Yes.
about a snake. Yeah.
Exactly. So, anyways, if you want, I don't know, this is a little off topic, but if you want to see something as close as possible to a modern version of a medieval magical grimoire, open up the 48 Laws of Power. I think it is-
Basilius. Why is
maybe-
Basilius being talked about?
I think it's maybe as sort of dangerous as an actual grimoire. I would not recommend anybody spend too much time in that book. It really makes you feel dirty. But anyways, just to rant about something I hadn't gotten a chance to rant about. Of course, I say it all the time. Thoth, the Egyptian
Yes.
god Thoth, brought down the first forms of magic, and one of the first forms of magic was the written word, and that's why the written word, in various forms, both in grimoires, in advertising, in marketing, and the legal system, are perhaps literally written in a literal magic script. And to have MIT come out and do a fun little study that concludes that legalese is basically a form of magic. I'm going to cut over here again. It says, here's one of the quotes. However, the findings ended up pointing toward a different hypothesis, the so-called magic spell hypothesis. Just as magic spells are written with a distinctive style that sets them apart from everyday language, thinks Thoth, the convoluted style of legal language appears to signal a special kind of authority, the researchers say. Quote, in English culture, if you want to write something that's a magic spell, people know that the way to do it is you put a lot of old-fashioned rhymes in there. We think maybe center embedding is signaling legalese in the same way. In this study, researchers asked about 200 non-lawyers, and they kind of go into, they had people read it. To test the, where was it? Oh no. When writing laws, they did a lot of center embedding. Okay, we're doing more about the center embedding. That's those magical shapes you'll see in the
text, the physical text, yeah.
Yeah. Then it gets into things like the origins of legalese. Gibson's lab is now investigating the origins of center embedding in legal documents. Early American laws were based on British law, so the researchers plan to analyze British laws to see if they feature the same kind of grammatical construction. And going back much further, they plan to analyze whether center embedding is found in the Hammurabi Code, the earliest known set of laws, which dates to around 1750 BC. BC. And if you want, I mean, they're referencing something that again comes up when you start studying these things, is the law. Of course, there's the concept of the law in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, and things like this. There's some interesting twists and turns when you get into the concept of Kabbalah and the way that that whole historical thing unfolded. But it's sort of a standard of the research that back at the very beginning of societies encoding their law, it was considered magic. I mean, it was explicitly considered magic, and it was written that way, and it was treated that way.
Yeah, just for people, for folks who may be new to a lot of this stuff, part of one of the interpretations of some of the Hammurabi Code included the notion of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and notice how when Jesus talked about not an eye for an eye, like it's a direct
Great point.
Yeah, it's a direct counter to stuff that was written in the Hammurabi Code.
Exactly.
So Jesus actually addressed certain issues that came out of this document, which is
that was one. I mean, and that's a very important point for Christians, because there's, and this is a danger that I had to navigate. It's a danger that I was warned about before looking into this stuff. Anybody, and even any Christian who goes and starts to, get deep into the history of this kind of stuff, it starts presenting the idea that maybe, magic wasn't as frowned upon.
Right, just a tool,
Exactly. It's spiritual mechanics that God made. Right. It's just the way God made the universe. So maybe it's not the biggest deal. Nope. Because you see in the New Testament, yes, Jesus Christ literally quoting things like the Hammurabi Code and juxtaposing them to the new covenant, meaning this is not the thing to do. Dispelling, releasing, I'd say, society and humanity and individuals from the chains of those sorts of, I'm not going to call every
mechanisms.
Mechanisms. Yeah, that's good. Sort of mechanics. And so to have MIT PhDs come out, I mean, today is a little unfortunate because we're a little out of time, and I can't give a full thing and give a full history to everybody who's never heard this before. But goodness gracious, MIT, right there on track with your best buddy Basil's obsession for the past many years, and in line as well with Oxford, Essex, University of Essex in the UK.
This MIT really, I was going to say that this article sets up in the United States at the highest levels a degree in occult and magic, and understanding these things. If you might be hired at a law firm if you get one of these degrees.
Well, and that's it's so funny because I've had this conversation with several people, and I'll say it's a great way to start a weird conversation with somebody who you think would be fun to have a weird conversation. You say, oh yeah, studying law, that's very interesting. I think that becoming a lawyer is the closest thing to going to law school is the closest thing we have to going to Hogwarts. And they'll be like, oh, that's a funny metaphor or something. Or like, right. Oh no, seriously,
actually,
let me tell you the history of all this. Becoming a lawyer is like literally practicing to be a magi in the system that we currently live in. And that's kind of an important thing. The magic only works because of the system that we are in. It's not, and this is important for everybody to realize, the idea that, that magic works because it is inherently built into reality is a different thing to say that it works because it is built into the system in which we are trapped. So coming out of a certain system can release the practicality of a form or type of magic. If we were not in the legal system that we are in, those magi of law would lose all of their authority. And I think that speaks a lot to the types of redemption, salvation, breaking of chains, and transforming of the world that is presented in the New Testament. thank God, by Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. So just some interesting things to jump in there. If somebody's going to get a hyperfixation for a while, that's a good one to try out.
This girl must be bracketing witchcraft.
And all the times that we will continue to call out occult, esoteric, and magic presentations in our system will make much more sense.
You know what? We truly do live in a time when all this news media shifting and doing all that seems to be that the medium of exchange for the magic has shifted. You know, we saw it happen with everything from newspapers and, you know, I still had newspapers showing up and magazines showing up at my door when I was growing up as a kid, right? So we live from that generation to now where those things are completely, I mean, they exist still. Local newspapers are trying to get, you know, subscribers and stuff like that. But for the most part, everything has gone digital. And that's, I don't know, the final move, I guess, between money and between information, news information. The final shift has happened. We're there. We've passed the Rubicon.
That might
and
be
we're in the
big...
new age that Trump said that he would bring. So it all makes sense.
We will launch a new age.
You know, it's very common now. The masses are starting to feel it too. That there's some big sort of transcendent transition going on in the world, and nobody knows exactly what it is, but they all feel it. You know, I think you might have pointed out a big aspect of that would be impossible not to detect if you're a human with a human brain. I want to shout out the special episode we did with a conversation on the Millennial Mustard Seed podcast. Go to our podcast RSS feed, whatever podcast player you use, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Just pick one. Search Canary Cry News Talk and Canary Cry Radio. You'll see a special episode where we were on a call with Michael Basham and Rod from Millennial Mustard Seed and this fella Aaron, who's helping out Boots on the Ground with Hurricane Helene. We had an incredible conversation, and yes, KHP Night of the Hungry Panda puts in the chat here, forms. Don't get Basil started on forms. So if you want to hear me rant even more to thunderous applause about the esoteric, occult, and magical significance of bureaucracy and forms and protocols and things like that, and how they are all of the devil in a very specific way, you can go listen to that podcast episode. And I recommend everybody listen to that episode no matter what. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Sounds good.
Okay, Gons, you got to go pick up kids.
Yeah,
Man,
just a quick thank you to the people who sent in art. We'll definitely display it and share it on Monday when we can. So
yeah. Well,
just a heads up.
Yes, that'll be right before Christmas. That'll be great.
Yep,
but
still works.
Thank you to what was it? Was it Elias or Cassius?
It's going to be Cassius,
Thank you, Cassius, and Miss G
Dame,
Beauty.
Miss G, and Jonathan F, who sent in a couple
Thank you,
audio
guys.
tracks. Yeah, so we'll get to that on Monday.
Weird day. Thanks for sticking
Weird
with us,
day.
folks.
Yeah.
And remember, you can make sure to hit like, subscribe, share the show, all that kind of stuff. Thank you to the Clippies. And thank you to the timestampers, all of you making this show happen in ways that it couldn't possibly happen without you. And thank you to everybody who shares the show. It's Christmas. Remember, share the show with your friends and your family. When you're there with your family and you need something to talk about at the dinner table or after Christmas festivities, go ahead, start bringing up the Hammurabi Code. Lawyers are literal magi or magicians.
Sharing this show is not just caring; it's also very daring.
It's very daring, and it'll help them understand the shift in media. Here's the thing: I do not regret going so deeply into the meta-analysis of the entire news and information space. Even if you don't like it, even if you're like kind of tired of hearing about it, even if you're whatever, the fact you're hearing it, I think, is very important. You're going to be light years ahead of anybody else who has not learned to be aware and meta-analyze the information they're getting, where it's coming from, what it's saying, and whatever. Your friends and family who are not like-minded in this manner, they are going to be thrown for a loop. They are going to be a ship tossed around on the choppy waters of information warfare in the next 6 to 12 months is going to be a very traumatic time for them. So giving them the opportunity to catch up and get a broader view of what's going on in the reality crafting, narrative worldview building magicianry that is happening to them at all times. What a better gift than that? And if you get any value from what we do, please consider executive producing the show for the first time. If we get 4 or 5 more by Monday, Gons and I will get a nice Christmas bonus from the Sentinel, Sir Jamie, and Sir Egorius. So please help us out. Goodness gracious.
Man,
think of the children.
Man, I
think
know.
of the
Think
children.
Of the, you know, it's. I won't necessarily talk about it here at time, but there's stuff going on, and
Stuff
you know,
going
I'm trying
on.
to keep a
hard time.
level head, other than sending Basil some rage text
We're trying.
from
We're
my personal rage.
Gonz's hard times have officially caught up to my hard times. I am now,
Yeah, and you get to hear about it, which
I
is
get
great.
to hear about it. I get to be your rock, your stable presence.
Yeah, I slam the keyboard. I hit send.
Yeah.
And then I feel better. I'm like, at least
it
tossed
helps. It
to
helps.
the
Yeah, it helps to
fireball.
talk about it. It helps to
Yeah.
get it out. All right, folks. So thank you so much. Remember, join the text message alert system. This more than any time ever should tell you to join the text message alert system. If you're not on it, I don't know what you're doing. Text the word canary to 877-740-3226. I'm going to say it again, so remember it. Canary to 877-740-3226, so you never get manipulated out of the show ever again. And you can text us back. It's very fun. But thanks for listening. Oh yeah, go share the show. We call it Rattling Cages. All you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few
The
cages.
human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
You know, it's weird too. This episode was called Media Amnesia. What another strange.
Oh yeah, the stream had amnesia. That's
we
true.
blacked out. Yeah,
Completely blacked out. Wow.
And a bunch of what I said will never be heard by people who don't go listen to the podcast first. It's a very strange day. Very.
It's what it is. It is what it is. Hey, we're part of the journey. You know, this is just part of the journey. It's all fun.
You know, at least you know we're not AI, folks.
That's true.
There's that. All right, Gons, you got any last words?
I hope everybody has a great weekend. Well, it's not weekend yet, but we'll be back after the weekend. And yeah, thanks for being here, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Joyful Noise is making a good point too.
You're so quiet. Why are you so quiet at my ear?
I don't know. I might be far away from the microphone. Joyful Noise making a good point too. There is a Christian, I don't know, not a sect, but like a Christian set of theories called Courts of Heaven, which recognizes the language in the Bible. Satan is often called the adversary, which more directly translate to prosecuting attorney, and Jesus as our advocate, which more
court
directly.
of law. Yes.
Yeah. So the whole kind of spiritual setup can be seen, and indeed is written about in sort of this legalese way. So another example
absolutely.
of how that weird stuff comes out. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cave.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Bye, gold. Bye!
I want to shake things up, I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati. He's a Satanist from one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, not support.